Dominique. Thank you for joining this interview and the Capital Short Film Festival. Nice to meet you.
My pleasure.
Are you enjoying this festival?
Very much, very much. It's impossible not to, really.
How do you think this festival stands out from all the others of this kind? What does make it special? What does make it special to you, at least?
Well, I mean, for me, obviously that it's in Venice is a huge part of the overall enjoyment, but very specifically to the festivals, the fact that the students are so involved in the running of the festival is a very big pleasure. So it's very hospitable, it's very inclusive.
And which are, because you're the festival, the Berlin Film Festival delegate for the UK and Ireland, and which are the main positive sides of being part of such a huge event as the Berlin Film Festival compared to the ones of the Capital Short Film Festival, which is still growing, and it's just its fifth edition.
Yes. Well, they're incomparable, actually. There's no smaller festivals, this one in particular, but also in general, smaller festivals are much more intimate. You have more time to meet the participants, you can talk to them informally. Berlin is a huge festival, and the films that are in the selection, they have a very rigid timetable for interviews, for press showings, for screenings, for meeting the public, and it's all much more more regimented because of the sheer scale of it. Though as delegate I have the opportunity to meet a lot of the talent, the directors, the actors, and speak to them in an informal, but it's really not comparable. The scale is just not.
Unless you have a really tight schedule.
Yes.
When you're attending this kind of event.
Yes.
You're a judge at this festival, and I've been involved in the pre-selection of this festival, and I was feeling like a criminal. I don't know why. How do you feel about it, about being a judge at such difficult times?
Well, it is difficult because first of all you're, there are 30 films and some are documentaries, some are features, some are animations, so already it's very difficult to decide between them. But this is the way of the world. There is a first prize, and at the end of the day, you have to look for all the elements that you consider to be important, and something does always rise above the others. But it doesn't mean that the others aren't good.
But do you focus more on what? About, the screenplay, the acting, I don't know.
Well, if you're looking at best film, I think it's actually all of those things together, that you're looking at the ensemble of, what story has been told, has it touched you, has it moved you, have you understood it, how was the sound, the music, the acting, the script, and any one element of those can be a bit clunky and it can still be a very strong film, but you do look at all of those things, and you also, well, you don't look for it, but sometimes you just find a certain something that captures the imagination.
But you're a festival delegate, you've been the managing director for Magnum Photos, a tutor, even a tutor, but is there any, if any, something you haven't done yet?
Oh, there's lots of things I haven't done, and there are even more that I'm not capable of doing, so, yes, I mean, there are things that I haven't done, but I never had a wish to direct or to be sort of at the front line, so that's not an unfulfilled ambition. I think if anything, I would like to be able to write, but maybe now I'll have the time.
So, you've never thought about being a director? Never.
No.
I don't know. Not even a moment when you think, well, this film is so good, I want to be the director, just not an executive producer.
No, you know, I don't have something burning inside me that I wish to tell. I'm pragmatic, I like doing things, I like enabling things to be done, and that's one of the great things about exec producing or being a executive in a company, that you can play your part in making sure something happens. But I don't have, you know, a burning ambition to direct. But that's okay, because enough people do. It doesn't need me.
Well, you've done a lot of stuff in your life.
Yes, well.
So, yeah. Now, I want to know, which was the final moment in your life when you knew that you had found your own way of doing cinema?
Oh, there's been a number of them. Actually, I think it's an odd story, but it was really the one moment where I actually really understood that I knew what I was doing and how to do it, and I had bought the rights. This was when I was a distributor, to a film directed by Oliver Stone called Salvador, which is one of his earliest films, and I thought it was a really brilliant film. And I had booked it into a very particular cinema in Leicester Square in London, and I just felt this was the right cinema for it. And he was coming through London on his way back from Thailand, where he'd been shooting a film, and he was really tired and he wanted to get home, and the last thing he wanted on earth was to stop in London to do a press tour. And as he was arriving at the very last moment, the cinema owner told me that there was a problem and that we couldn't start the film the following week. It would have to wait till September, which was a long way away. So I decided I would wait. He arrived, he was furious, you know, why am I here if this film isn't even opening? You know, I'm tired, I want to go home. And then, of course, when you do a press thing in those circumstances, you have to have an embargo. Nobody can talk about it. So it all gets terribly, terribly complicated. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, this was in June. We held everything until September. The film opened, and it was a very big success because it was a good film, but also it was absolutely the right cinema for it. And it ran and ran and ran for months, which is very unusual, until Oliver Stone's next film opened in Leicester Square, 8-9 months later. And to my great pride, he was the first director to have 2 first-run films showing in Leicester Square, which in London is the high spot of the cinema, at the same time. And he and the producers and everybody really thanked me. And it sounds a silly story, but it was just really, I had done the right thing, and it was an instinct, and it was against what everyone was advising me to do, and I held my ground. So that was a very proud moment.
I bet it was. But you have many interests. How do you cope with all that? What do you do?
Well, you only cope with things that are difficult to handle. Things that interest you don't have to be coped with. I mean, you just do them. And they're all in the sphere of film, photography, visual arts. It's not such a wide canvas, and I do what I do because I love it.
Well, thank you very much. Enjoy this last day of the short film festival.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.